Hi everyone, today's a fun day talking about special pairs of angles, and make sure you're in section 1.5 part 1 because there are two parts. You may have already done part 1, so be careful. And so today we're going to be talking about special pairs of angles, and I defined a couple for you at the top of your page, but I'm going to actually go through these definitions. The first one, really important angle, these first two, vertical angles. Two angles whose sides are opposite rays. So let's just remember that opposite rays form lines. So here's, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, like that. Those are opposite rays, okay? And I'm going to do another set of opposite rays, okay? And vertical, and then I'm going to label them angle 1, 2, 3, and 4, okay? So angles 1 and 3 are vertical angles. Angles 1 and 3 are vertical angles, and then angles 2 and 4 are vertical angles, meaning look at their sides. Their sides, so, and actually let me get the highlighter. Their sides are opposite rays. So look at 4 and 2. So their sides are opposite rays, and those are called vertical angles. All right, linear pair angles are a pair of adjacent angles that form a straight angle. Adjacent angles are angles right next to each other, but we need to be careful because the word pair, a pair means that there are two. Let me switch back to my normal pen. Okay, so we have two angles. So it's going to look something like this. Okay, so here's a couple of angles, and I'm going to label this one 1 and this one 2. Okay, and I'm on a little bit of a thicker pen. All right, so angle 1 and angle 2 form a straight angle. So angle 1 and angle 2 are equal to 180 degrees. Uh-oh, what's wrong? Did something wrong. All right. So those are two types of angles we're going to be talking about, vertical angles and linear pair angles. The next one, I believe you've probably heard of these before, complementary angles and supplementary angles. Complementary angles are two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. So if I give you an angle that's 40 degrees and I give you another that's 50 degrees, those two angles together equal 90 degrees. Measure of angle equal 40 and the measure of angle equal 50. So we would call these complementary angles. Supplementary angles are two angles whose sum is 180 degrees. So if I gave you the measure of an angle is 100 and the measure of an angle is 80, well then those together equal 180. So those would be supplementary angles. All right, so we're going to go through this and use it with some algebra. All right, so our first one is the vertical angle theorem. So if you have vertical angles, the theorem basically says that vertical angles are congruent, which you know means equal. So using algebra, if we see angles that are vertical angles, the first thing I do is I mark them. Oops, I pressed my button too early. I mark my diagram. So meaning I see that this angle and this angle are vertical angles, so I'm going to go ahead and mark them congruent with the hash marks. Then I can write an equation to solve for x. So because they're equal, 3x plus 15 has to equal 75. All right, so then we solve for x. So we subtract 15 on both sides and we'll get 3x equals 60, and then divide by 3 on both sides. So x equals 20. So we just use the vertical angle theorem and our algebra to solve for a variable. All right, let's do the same thing with the linear pair postulate. So linear pair angles are two angles that form a straight angle, but the linear pair postulate says that if they're linear pairs, then they equal 180 degrees. Okay, so let's talk about that. Look at what you're given. You're given the measure of angle EBG. So E to B right here, here's E, so EBG up here. Oops, sorry, what happened? That's angle EBG. Let me get that out of the way. So I'm going to mark angle EBG. I don't know why that's doing this today. Is 7x plus 11. There we go. Now it's a little bit more normal. And then angle EBH, which is this angle right here, is 2x plus 7. Well, if you turn this sideways, guys, you should be able to see that they together form a straight angle. So they are a linear pair, so you can set them equal to each other to solve for x. So 7x plus 11 plus 2x plus 7 equals 180 degrees. Cool, right? Now we combine our like terms. So the 7x and the 2x are like terms. So we get 9x, and 11 and 17 are like terms. So we get 18 equals 180. All right, now we got to use that fun algebra. We're going to subtract 18, do the opposite operation to both sides, and we'll get 9x equals 162. We divide both sides by 9, so 9 goes into 162, I think 18 times. So we got x. But now we look at the question. It says, find the measure of angle 1. Angle 1 and angle 3 are actually vertical angles. So we know that vertical angles are equal. So if I can find the measure of angle 3, then I'll have the measure of angle 1. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to do 2 times 18 plus 7. So 2 times 18 is 36. 36 plus 7 equals 43. So the measure of angle 1 is equal to 43 degrees. And there is my answer. All right, so I know that that linear pair was a little hard to see because my diagram got all messed up there. So I'm going to delete that again. And just make sure you see, okay, you see that this angle and this angle together, there's that straight angle that they formed, okay? And straight angles equal 180 degrees. And that's our linear pair postulate. All right, so now we got to look at our complementary and our supplementary angles. So we're going to use the definition. So the definition of supplementary angles, like I said, is two angles whose sum is 180 degrees. All right, so if I said to you, if angle A is 40 degrees, what is the measure of its supplement? So it's asking for what is the other angle that makes it supplementary. So basically what I want you to think of it is 40 plus x always equals 180. So then x would have to equal 140. So it's supplement. We would say that's its supplement. All right, think of that now. It says if the measure of an angle is x, what is the measure of its supplement? Well, here, if you think about it, you really just subtracted 40 from it, right? So we're going to let y be the supplement. So y plus x equals 180. If I do, and I subtract that y to the other side, or actually, let's do x. Let me do that differently. I would take that 180 and I would just subtract the angle that I have, that 40, so in this case, that x from it, and I would get 180 minus x. So if the angle is x, then its supplement is 180 minus x, meaning 180 minus whatever it is. All right, they get a little bit harder if I ask you to use a word problem. The measure of an angle is 3 times the measure of its supplement. Find the measure of the angle. All right, so this is what I did. I said, number one, we're going to let x equal the angle, and then 3x equal the supplement. Okay? Together, they have to equal 180 degrees, so x plus 3x equals 180, and then I solved for x. So I did 4x equals 180, so then x equaled 45. So the angle is 45, and the supplement is 3 times 45, which is 135. So there's the angle and its supplement. Just remember, supplementary angle, two angles that equal 180 degrees. So you can find your two angles and set them equal, their sum, to 180 degrees. All right, now let's look at complementary angles. The only difference between complementary and supplementary angles is complementary equals 90. All right. So if the measure of angle A is 2y, what is the measure of the complement? All right, so complement plus 2y has to equal 90. So I just want the complement, so I'm going to subtract 2y from 90. So my complement is equal to 90 minus 2y. Again, two angles, when added together, they equal 90 degrees. Okay. Find the measure of an angle that is twice as large as its complement. So I let x equal the complement. And then 2x equal the angle that you're looking for, all right? And again, They're complementary angles, so x plus 2x has to equal 90 degrees. Add them together at 3x equals 90, and then x equals 30. All right, so the complement is 30, so the angle that we're looking for is 60. Do they equal 90? Yes, they do. All right, so just to quickly review, vertical angles are congruent, linear pair angles are equal to 180 degrees, supplementary angles are two angles whose sum is 180 degrees, and complementary angles are two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. If you need to review this because it went kind of fast, please pause and just go back. And I'll see you tomorrow in class to talk about it and practice.